Somebody made a remark, and I'm always misquoted on it, and it wasn't me, it was somebody else. Well, what was it like seeing The Sound of Music, Curate? And this person said, well, it was like being beaten to death by a Hallmark card.
You probably grew up humming Durami or had a family member who swore Julie Andrews could do no wrong. But here's the thing. Behind those twirling hills and picture-perfect smiles lies a wild collection of behind-the-scenes secrets. And when I say weird, I mean weird, weird. In this video, we'll get into the top 20 weird facts you didn't know about The Sound of Music. So don't even think about clicking away, because each fact we're about to unravel is juicier than the last. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for fact number 1. Number 20. Julie Andrews kept falling during the opening scene. The iconic opening scene of Julie Andrews twirling joyfully across an alpine meadow appears effortless on screen. But the reality behind this famous sequence reveals a much different story. Ironically, this memorable opening sequence was among the last scenes filmed in Austria. The filming technique required Andrews to walk from one end of a field while a helicopter carrying a cameraman approached from the other end. A crew member hidden in nearby bushes shouted, "Go, Julie!" through a megaphone to time her movements perfectly. Andrews would begin walking, then spin with arms outstretched as if about to sing. However, after each take, the powerful downdraft from the helicopter's jet engines would forcefully knock Andrews to the ground. This happened not just once or twice, but between 6 and 9 times. After each fall, she would have to haul herself up, spit out grass and dirt, brush off her dress, and return to her starting position for another take. The contrast between the serene, graceful scene audiences adore and the chaotic filming conditions is particularly striking. While viewers see a carefree woman dancing across a mountain meadow, behind the scenes, Andrews was repeatedly flattened and grew increasingly frustrated. According to her account, she eventually became so irritated that she shook her fist at the pilot, requesting he make a wider circle around her. Furthermore, the cameraman's position made the helicopter approach crab-wise, sideways like a grasshopper, adding to the bizarre filming experience. The musical playback was nearly inaudible over the helicopter noise, requiring extremely loud speakers hidden behind trees. The challenging weather conditions compounded these difficulties, as Austria experiences the world's 7th highest annual rainfall. By this point in production, the film was 3 weeks behind schedule and seriously over budget, prompting studio executives to summon the cast back to Los Angeles. What if we told you that one of the most iconic scenes in The Sound of Music wasn't even planned? Yes, total accident, and it made the final cut. Keep watching to find out which one. Number 19. The real Von Trapps escaped by train, not over the Alps. The climactic finale of the film portrays the Von Trapp family dramatically escaping Nazi-occupied Austria by hiking over the Alps to Switzerland. Yet this iconic scene bears virtually no resemblance to historical reality. In reality, the Von Trapps simply boarded a train and left Austria in broad daylight. We did tell people that we were going to America to sing, and we did not climb over mountains with all our heavy suitcases and instruments. We left by train, pretending nothing, Maria's daughter explained in a 2003 interview. The family departed with their musical conductor, Reverend Franz Wasner, and secretary Martha Zockbauer. Characters merged into the fictional Max Detweiler in the film. First and foremost, they traveled to Italy, not Switzerland, as Georg had Italian citizenship through his birthplace, which became Italian territory in 1920. Interestingly, the family departed just 1 day before Austrian borders were completely sealed. Essentially, Had the Von Trapps actually attempted the mountain crossing depicted in the film, they would have ended up in Nazi Germany, not neutral Switzerland, which was approximately 200 miles away. The real Maria von Trapp openly mocked this geographical blunder, exclaiming, "Don't they know geography in Hollywood? Salzburg does not border on Switzerland." To put it simply, the film's most memorable climactic sequence is geographically impossible. Beyond that, the dramatic nighttime escape contrasts sharply with the family's actual daytime departure, where they openly traveled without hiding their intentions. Number 18. The Von Trapps sold their story rights for $9,000. Behind the massive success of The Sound of Music lies a surprising financial misstep by the real Von Trapp family, one that cost them millions in potential earnings over the decades that followed. In 1955, facing financial difficulties after Georg's death, Maria von Trapp sold the complete rights to her 1949 memoir, The Story of Trapp Family Singers, to German movie producer Wolfgang Reinhardt for a mere $9,000. This flat-fee transaction included all film and theatrical adaptation rights without any royalty provisions. Following this sale, Maria inadvertently signed away her family's entire creative control over their own life story. The American rights were subsequently purchased from the German producers, meaning the Von Trapps had virtually no input into either the Broadway musical or the Hollywood film that would immortalize them. Number 17. Christopher Plummer was drunk during Edelweiss. Behind the emotional rendition of Edelweiss that moves audiences to this day lies a surprising confession from Christopher Plummer himself. He was completely drunk during filming of the climactic music festival scene. In the 35th anniversary DVD commentary, Plummer admitted that he was 3 sheets to the wind drunk while shooting the pivotal music festival sequence where the Von Trapp family performs before their daring escape from Nazi Austria. The actor, visibly nervous about performing with a full orchestra, turned to alcohol to calm his nerves. "I was shaking. I was terrified with a full orchestra the first time. Julie had to hold me. I would have fainted," Plummer confessed. Throughout the scene, Andrews physically supported her inebriated co-star as he delivered what would become one of the film's most touching moments. Additionally, Plummer's state of intoxication starkly contrasts with his professional background as a trained Shakespearean actor, with numerous starring roles under his belt. Notably, Plummer later described his behavior as unconscionable and admitted, "I was a pampered, arrogant, young bastard spoiled by too many great theater roles." His drinking wasn't limited to this scene, he later acknowledged. "I was drinking like mad at the time." Remarkably, Plummer's intoxication may have inadvertently enhanced the scene's emotional impact. His vulnerability and raw emotion while performing Edelweiss created genuine cinematic magic that captivated both the fictional festival audience and millions of moviegoers worldwide. Behind those hills that were alive with music were a ton of strange secrets, hilarious mistakes, and facts you've probably never heard. Keep watching till the end to discover the most surprising of them all. Number 16. The real Maria von Trapp made a cameo. In an extraordinary twist of film history, the real Maria von Trapp secretly appears in the movie inspired by her own life story, a fleeting moment many viewers completely miss. The genuine Maria makes her brief, uncredited cameo during Julie Andrews' performance of I Have Confidence. As Andrews strides through Salzburg toward the Von Trapp residence, the real Maria can be spotted walking past an archway in the background. This blink and you'll miss it appearance occurs precisely when Andrews sings the lines, "I must stop these doubts," all these worries. If I don't, I just know I'll turn back. The actual Maria wasn't alone. Her daughter Rosemarie accompanied her alongside Barbara, who was Werner von Trapp's daughter. Behind Andrews, what appears to be a city center serves as the backdrop where these three women momentarily cross the screen. Curiously, although the producers granted Maria this special appearance, they subsequently failed to invite her to the film's premiere. When Maria inquired about not receiving an invitation, producers simply told her no seats remained available. This snub struck many as remarkably discourteous, especially considering the respectful gesture of including her cameo. Moreover, the real Maria differed significantly from Andrews's portrayal. Those who saw Maria on television programs like Dinah Shore's show noted she was nothing like the gentle Bryn Mawr-like representation in the film, instead describing her as a true force of nature. Number 15. The youngest Von Trapp almost drowned. One terrifying incident that remained hidden from audiences for decades occurred during the seemingly innocent rowboat scene with the Von Trapp children, when 5-year-old Kim Carruth, who played Little Gretel, nearly lost her life in a horrifying on-set accident. The perilous moment unfolded during filming of the scene where Maria takes the children rowing across a lake. As part of the script, the family stands up to wave at Captain Von Trapp, causing the boat to capsize. Shockingly, just moments prior to shooting, the assistant director approached Julie Andrews with disturbing news. The little one can't swim. Andrews was understandably stunned, responding with, "What?" Throughout the first take, everything proceeded without incident. Yet, as soon as the second take began, disaster struck. The boat rocked with unexpected violence, sending Andrews over the back, while little Kim tumbled over the front directly into the deep water. Within seconds, the kindergarten-aged actress was submerged and fighting for her life. First off, the production's complete lack of safety protocols for a water scene involving non-swimming children stands out as remarkably irresponsible. Perhaps even more bizarre, no one thought to inform Andrews about Kim's inability to swim until literally seconds before cameras rolled, giving her no opportunity to object or request safety measures. Given that the scene could easily have been filmed with safety divers or in shallow water, the recklessness of the decision is astounding by modern filmmaking standards. Most disturbingly, this traumatic experience left lasting psychological damage, as Kim developed a persistent fear of water that followed her well into adulthood. Number 14. Leisel sprained her ankle dancing. Among the film's most beloved musical numbers, 16 Going on 17 features a romantic dance sequence that resulted in a painful injury for actress Charmian Carr, yet most viewers never realized they were watching a performer dance through genuine agony. The gazebo scene where Leisel dances with Rolf was actually the last sequence filmed for the movie. During the first take, 21-year-old Charmian Carr attempted a choreographed jump across the smooth wooden benches lining the interior of the glass gazebo. Unfortunately, the costume department had forgotten to put rubber soles on her dancing shoes, leaving her with no traction whatsoever. As she made her first leap, Carr slipped catastrophically, crashing straight through one of the gazebo's glass windows. The impact sent shards flying and left the actress with a sprained ankle. Perhaps most unusual about this incident is that multiple versions of the film exist showing different levels of injury visibility. In earlier editions, Carr's bandaged ankle is clearly visible in certain shots, creating a continuity error that most viewers never notice. Yet in remastered versions, this evidence was carefully edited out. Additionally, the gazebo used for exterior shots, later gifted to Salzburg, wasn't actually where the dance sequence occurred. The interior proved too cramped for the elaborate choreography, requiring producers to build a larger replica in their Hollywood studio. Rather than postponing filming, a doctor on set quickly administered a pain injection and applied a thick bandage to Carr's injured ankle. The wardrobe team added stockings to her costume in an attempt to conceal the swelling, yet careful viewers can still observe that her right ankle appears noticeably thicker than her left throughout the sequence. Impressively, Carr insisted on continuing despite her injury, completing all remaining dance sequences as planned. Her professionalism and determination earned her a spontaneous standing ovation from the entire crew when filming concluded. Number 13. The Durami scene took 2 months to film. Few sequences in cinematic history required as much patience and persistence as the iconic Durami montage in The Sound of Music. This seemingly carefree musical sequence became an unexpected production nightmare, consuming a staggering 2 months to complete. Unpredictable Austrian weather proved the primary culprit behind the extended filming schedule. The production team battled constant rainfall in a region that experiences some of Europe's highest annual precipitation. Unexpected downpours, cold spring temperatures, and persistent overcast conditions repeatedly halted filming. The meadow picnic scene alone required 5 full days to capture due to these weather constraints. Complex logistics further complicated matters, as the scene required coordinating shots across 9 separate Salzburg locations. The production team needed to transport equipment and personnel between sites daily, with Julie Andrews sometimes arriving via ox cart to remote filming areas. Additionally, extensive rehearsals were necessary before traveling to Austria. Andrews and the children practiced riding bicycles down streets at Fox Studios to perfect their timing with the music. The stark contrast between what appears on screen versus reality is truly remarkable. While viewers see sun-drenched, joyful montages, the actual filming conditions were frequently miserable. Cast members, particularly the children, were often photographed huddled beneath blankets between takes, desperately trying to stay warm. I don't think anybody thought it wasn't going to be kind of chilly or rainy, but I think they sort of miscalculated, recalled Kim Carruth. Beyond weather, practical considerations tested everyone's endurance. In remote filming locations, cast and crew faced primitive conditions. No toilets were available for miles. Technical challenges mounted as well. For nighttime and special effect scenes, equipment shortages became so severe that lights and generators had to be ordered from across Europe. This movie may seem sweet and innocent, but some behind-the-scenes moments were totally unexpected, and even a little weird. You won't believe what happened during that famous mountain scene. Stick around for Fact 11. Number 12. Captain Von Trapp's singing voice was dubbed despite his commanding presence as Captain Von Trapp. Christopher Plummer's memorable musical performances in The Sound of Music weren't actually his own voice, a fact that remained largely unknown to audiences for years after the film's release. Bill Lee, an accomplished session vocalist often called the singing voice of Hollywood, provided the dubbed vocals for all of Plummer's musical numbers. Lee possessed an extensive resume, having dubbed for numerous non-singing actors throughout his career. His voice blended seamlessly with Plummer's speaking voice, creating a convincing illusion that fooled millions of viewers. This wasn't an isolated case in the production. Several other characters had their singing voices enhanced or replaced entirely. Peggy Wood, who portrayed Mother Abbess, likewise had her powerful rendition of "Climb Every Mountain" dubbed by Marjorie McKay. What makes this dubbing particularly strange is that Plummer was actually a trained singer with considerable vocal talent. Unlike many actors who required dubbing due to limited musical abilities, Plummer possessed a respectable singing voice. Apparently, he simply disliked the songs assigned to his character, considering them too sentimental. His overall disdain for the film, which he often referred to as the sound of mucus, likely contributed to his reluctance to perform vocally. Consequently, while Julie Andrews performed all her own songs brilliantly, Plummer's character required vocal substitution. Number 11. Maria didn't love Georg at first. Unlike the instant attraction portrayed in the film, the real relationship between Maria and Georg von Trapp began far from a romantic fairy tale. This stark contrast between Hollywood's version and reality reveals yet another fascinating layer to the true story behind The Sound of Music. In her autobiography, Maria candidly admitted she felt no romantic feelings whatsoever when she married the captain. "I really and truly was not in love with him," she confessed in interviews years later. First and foremost, Maria viewed their marriage as a religious duty rather than a love match. When the captain proposed, she recalled feeling conflicted and uncertain. She initially turned him down. Her ultimate decision to marry him came after consulting with her mother Abbess, who convinced her it was God's will that she should marry the captain and become a mother to his children. In contrast to the film's portrayal of lingering glances and repressed attraction, the actual relationship began almost as a business arrangement. Interestingly, Maria originally arrived at the Von Trapp home as a tutor for just one of the children, Maria, who suffered from scarlet fever, not as a governess for all 7. Of course, the stark difference between the movie's passionate romance and Maria's frank admission that "I liked him but didn't love him" creates a fascinating dichotomy. To clarify, Maria even stated she had been horrid to the captain initially, showing none of the shy admiration depicted on screen. Number 10. The real Maria was the strict one. The complete reversal of Maria and Georg von Trapp's personalities stands as perhaps the most striking fabrication in the entire film adaptation of their story. Contrary to Julie Andrews' gentle, warm-hearted portrayal, the actual Maria von Trapp was a formidable disciplinarian who maintained stringent control over her household. Accordingly, she kept a tight leash on all 10 children and frequently exhibited a volatile temperament. Family members recalled her sudden angry outbursts consisting of yelling, throwing things, and slamming doors. Maria's stepdaughter described these episodes vividly. She had a terrible temper. From one moment to the next, you didn't know what hit her. The Von Trapp children weren't accustomed to such explosive behavior, but learned to weather these emotional storms, knowing her good humor would return quickly afterward. Perhaps most bewildering, the real Captain Von Trapp was nothing like the cold, whistle-blowing autocrat depicted on screen. Conversely, Georg was a gentle, warm-hearted parent who enjoyed musical activities with his family. The film's portrayal so distorted his character that his children were deeply distressed by this misrepresentation. Johannes von Trapp, reflecting on their rigorous musical training, noted that rehearsals ran daily from 10 to 12 and 4 to 6, with each child expected to learn music independently. Certainly, this intensity stemmed from Maria's leadership, not Georg's. Number 9. The original title was Love Song. Few fans realize that the iconic musical nearly entered cinema history under a completely different name. Before becoming a household phrase, Rodgers and Hammerstein's masterpiece almost launched with an entirely different identity. Initially, the creators of this beloved musical planned to call their adaptation Love Song. Both the Broadway production and subsequent film were developed under this working title throughout early stages of creation. The name Love Song appeared on early drafts, production notes, and pre-production materials. Rodgers and Hammerstein believed this title effectively captured the romantic elements woven throughout their adaptation of Maria von Trapp's memoir. Most strikingly, This original title bears virtually no connection to the musical's central themes of family, patriotism, and musical expression. Additionally, Love Song fails to reflect the Austrian setting or the Von Trapp family's remarkable journey. Perhaps most notably, the generic nature of Love Song seems remarkably uninspired compared to the distinctive title we now recognize. Given the creator's renowned creativity, their initial choice appears surprisingly bland and commercially generic. The revised title beautifully captures the story's musical heart, while conveying the transformative power of music within the narrative. An accidentally perfect branding decision that likely contributed to the film's enduring success. Number 8. Julie Andrews and Plumber couldn't stop laughing. One of Hollywood's most romantic moments nearly fell apart due to uncontrollable fits of giggles between the film's leading stars. Throughout filming, Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer faced an unexpected challenge while shooting the tender love scene in the gazebo. During filming of the intimate ballad Something Good, both Andrews and Plummer repeatedly dissolved into unstoppable laughter. Each time the director called action, the actors would begin their romantic scene only to break character moments later, overcome with giggles. This continued take after take, with neither actor able to maintain composure. The culprit behind their uncontrollable mirth? A peculiar technical issue created an embarrassing situation. The powerful arc lights used for the nighttime gazebo scene produced strange, inappropriate noises. As the actors attempted to exchange loving glances, the lights emitted sounds resembling bodily functions, utterly destroying the romantic atmosphere. After numerous failed attempts, the production team finally solved the problem by shooting the scene in silhouette. This creative solution eliminated the need for front-facing lighting that was causing the distracting noises. The silhouette approach ultimately enhanced the scene's intimate mood, creating one of the film's most visually striking moments. Number 7. The film was on a Cold War emergency broadcast list. Beyond its musical success, The Sound of Music occupied a peculiar place in Cold War history. As potential comfort during nuclear apocalypse, this beloved film was designated for a purpose far beyond mere entertainment. Throughout the Cold War, the BBC meticulously prepared a special broadcasting schedule designed for a nuclear emergency. At the very top of this contingency list sat The Sound of Music, specifically selected to be broadcast as 4-minute warning sirens sounded. This carefully crafted emergency programming aimed to boost morale among thousands expected to be trapped in homes or bunkers following a nuclear strike. Number 6. Critics hated the Broadway version. While audiences worldwide embraced The Sound of Music, what many fans don't realize is that the original 1959 Broadway production faced brutal criticism from theater reviewers who dismissed it as outdated and saccharine. Theater critics unleashed remarkably harsh assessments of Rodgers and Hammerstein's stage musical. The New York Times' Bosley Crowther later excoriated the movie version as cozy cum corny, with fairly horrendous adult characters. Time magazine's anonymous critic complained it contains too much sugar, too little spice. Pauline Kael delivered perhaps the most scathing critique, calling The Sound of Music the sugar-coated lie that people seem to want to eat, and the single most repressive influence on artistic freedom in movies. Her review proved so venomous, it reportedly cost her job at McCall's magazine. These sour skeptics essentially TP'd the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cathedral, with reviews ranging from mixed to malevolent. Yet somehow, what critics dismissed as outdated became timeless, touching the hearts of those with happy family memories and of everyone else who didn't have them but wished they did. Think you know The Sound of Music? What if we told you there's a secret behind Maria sitting on that pine cone that'll make you gasp? Yes. Wait till fact 4. Number 5. Edelweiss is not Austria's national anthem. Perhaps no misconception about the sound of music has spread more widely than the belief that Edelweiss represents Austria's national anthem. This charming ballad, which evokes powerful emotions throughout the film, has taken on a cultural significance far beyond what its creators ever intended. Many international viewers firmly believe Edelweiss has authentic Austrian roots dating back centuries. Remarkably, this misconception reaches the highest levels. The song was once performed at a White House dinner honoring the Austrian president, much to the bewilderment of the Austrian delegates present. To this day, tourists visiting Salzburg frequently ask locals about this traditional folk song. Number 4. The Hidden Innuendo. In The Sound of Music, there's a moment where young Maria sits on a pine cone during dinner and winces in pain, played off as a prank by the children. But to many adults, the scene carries a subtle innuendo. Sitting on a sharp pine cone, especially the way it's shown, hints at discomfort in a very personal spot. While kids see mischief, grown-ups recognize the awkward implication. It's an unexpectedly risque joke hidden in a wholesome classic, and once you catch it, it's hard to unsee. It's a blink-and-you'll-miss-it moment with a surprisingly adult twist. Number 3. Uncle Max was gay. It's one of those blink-and-you-miss-it realizations. Uncle Max from The Sound of Music was gay, and that changes everything you thought you knew about his character. As a child, he seemed like the fun, eccentric uncle with a flair for music. But as an adult, looking through a historical lens, it hits differently. He's a closeted gay Jewish man in 1930s Austria. 2 identities that would have made him a target under Nazi rule. On top of that, he helps the Von Trapps escape. Suddenly, his light-hearted lines carry weight. Uncle Max wasn't just charming, he was brave. Number 2. Nicholas Hammond had a growth spurt mid-filming. Among the numerous production challenges faced during filming, the rapid physical development of one young actor created a particularly unusual continuity problem that threatened the visual credibility of the entire Von Trapp family lineup. Throughout the 6-month production period, Nicholas Hammond, who portrayed 14-year-old Friedrich von Trapp, experienced an extraordinary growth. At the beginning of filming, Hammond stood at a modest 5 feet 3 inches tall. By the time production wrapped, he had shot up a remarkable 6 inches, reaching 5 feet 9 inches. This dramatic physical transformation created an immediate visual problem. Friedrich was supposed to be younger than his sister Leisel, played by Charmian Carr, yet he now towered over her. In addition to his height change, Hammond's rapid growth necessitated constant costume adjustments. The wardrobe department struggled to keep pace, sometimes requiring new outfits every few weeks. The production team employed several creative workarounds to disguise Hammond's changing height. Initially, they placed large lifts in Hammond's shoes to maintain consistent height relationships with other cast members. As filming progressed and he continued growing, they removed these lifts entirely. Eventually, Hammond had to stand barefoot in scenes with Carr. For her part, Carr increasingly had to stand on apple boxes to appear taller than her rapidly growing younger brother. Furthermore, the cameramen utilized strategic positioning, keeping space between the actors and using forced perspective to maintain the illusion of proper height relationships. Number 1. The cast had to use the woods as bathrooms. Behind the picture, perfect alpine scenes in The Sound of Music, the filming conditions were surprisingly primitive, forcing cast and crew to adopt rather unusual bathroom arrangements throughout production. The production team faced significant challenges filming in Salzburg, a region with Europe's 7th highest rainfall. This unpredictable weather frequently delayed shooting, forcing everyone to wait under makeshift shelters. Many filming locations in the Austrian Alps were completely inaccessible by road, requiring equipment to be transported by ox-drawn carts, while cast and crew traveled on foot. Their accommodations consisted primarily of tarps and tents, with the occasional luxury of a barn when available. Most troublingly, these remote mountain locations lacked any proper facilities, with no toilets for miles. Combined with freezing temperatures, these primitive conditions created a stark contrast to the polished final product audiences would eventually see. Naturally, the absence of basic facilities created an uncomfortable situation for a major Hollywood production featuring prominent stars. In particular, this predicament proved especially challenging for female cast members. As Julie Andrews herself candidly recalled, "When nature called, we went into the woods. Not easy for us women." The juxtaposition between the film's pristine visual aesthetic and the behind-the-scenes reality is truly remarkable. Evidently, viewers watching Julie Andrews gracefully spin across verdant hillsides would never imagine the actress had just emerged from using a forest as her personal bathroom.